everybody, and welcome back to the Steps to Soul podcast. Today, we're covering probably one of my favorite topics as a broker, which is going to be how to identify a good listing to inquire about, avoiding the fake, the fluffed, and finding the fantastic opportunities that are out there. My co-host, Christopher Sater, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, sir. You doing all right this morning?
Yeah, we're doing great. You know, this is one of my favorite topics. You know, I have a soft spot for this. As far as brokers who've been doing this I've been doing it 13 years. My dad's company, 25. You've been with us for a very long time as well. Nothing's worse than the junk that's out there, right? Nothing is worse than the absolute garbage that, let's face it, scammers, franchise salespeople, it's frustrating. So today we're going to take a very nice episode and discuss how to identify good listings to inquire about, both that fit your criteria, where to find them, how to search for them, and also how to look through the rough and avoid wasting your time. Because let's be honest, if we were looking to buy a business too, you can go on these different platforms. There are a ton of businesses for sale out there in theory, right? But as you and I know, there are ones that are good, bad, and how they're presented matters on what you should look for. Because based on that can tell you a lot of what the listing can be, what it should be, and also if it's missing certain topics and certain items, what are the flaws before you even waste your time going through the NDA process and going through all the hoops and hurdles to find out information, correct?
Yeah, it's a bit like I like to compare it to a crowded flea market, right? There's a lot of treasures out there, but there's also plenty of knockoffs, and so I think our goal in this episode isn't to make buyers suspicious of everything, but to make them smart, right? That's what we're trying to do, is make buyers smart. If you're searching for something, once you know what to look for and more importantly, what to ignore, you're going to move faster, you're going to waste less time, and you'll recognize when you've found a real business worth pursuing.
Yep, that's exactly correct. And on top of that, nobody wants to waste their time. We've talked about buyers, good, bad, indifferent buyers using up our time. We understand it's part of our process. Same for sellers wasting their time with buyers. Today is a way for you to understand the landscape of how to navigate, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there, influencers and other gurus, as we've talked about, giving advice that's not realistic and also not practical. So we kind of want to take the curtain off the back end from our end, how we notice things, how we observe, because we're the experts. We've done this for so many years. We can smell pretty often when something looks bad. We can smell it coming before the average person. So today we want to share those insights with you and encourage you how to navigate the marketplace, because let's be honest, there are plenty of options in the digital age how to find something. Let's teach you how to use your time effectively. So if you do have a good W-2 or you are looking for something to do to buy a business, know how to use your time efficiently. That's the point of this whole podcast, helping people learn. So on that note, let's dive into the most important place first, the marketplace. Where do you find businesses for sale, Chris? As we know, there's several platforms. You can look everywhere. But let's talk with the most common ones. The biggest guy in the room is BizBuySell, owned by CoStar, who owns Apartments.com, LoopNet. If you've been familiar with commercial real estate, you know that name. BizQuest, all under the same platform umbrella, publicly traded company. BizBuySell probably has 80% of the market share, right, Chris? They're just the big elephant in the room. They've got platform presence. They're considered the go-to spot, right?
Yeah, for sure. You've got smaller ones, but it's kind of like comparing Bing to Google. If you want to be found, you got to be on Google. Same thing for selling your business. You got to be on BizBuySell if you want massive amounts of leads. Not everybody needs that. If you got a business and a business broker that can specialize in getting you sold as your niche industry, then that's the way to go. But yeah, if you want to bring in 200 to 500 leads per listing, then you got to be on BizBuySell.
That's correct. It also brings credibility to a lot of different firms, because if you're on that platform, in theory, you're in this industry, as the old saying goes, right? Like a realtor should be on Zillow or Realtor.com. It's kind of the same comp. Let's talk about some other platforms, because I feel like I want to expand people's insight, because BizBuySell is great. It has its flaws, and we'll talk about that a little bit and talk about some of the issues I have with the platform. And don't get me wrong, every platform has its issues, but let's talk about some other platforms that are great places to look. No shame, sunbeltnetwork.com, our platform, is probably the second highest leading generating source of leads in the country because of our collective growth as an organization. You can find a lot of good broker-entered businesses to buy on sunbeltnetwork.com across a variety of industries. DealStream is another great site that does a good job listing, especially higher value listings with a stronger EBITDA multiple or SDE. DealStream is a great place to go. Empire flippers if you're looking for digital assets like e-commerce type businesses, and then other sales like businessbroker.net, businesses for sale. But also, I want to give a shout out to Tupelo and our friend George Welmer, a guest of the show twice. George's platform is great too. And why do I mention Sunbelt and ones like Tupelo are similar but good? They're all broker entered. Sunbelt, you have to be part of our network to enter a listing. So the high chance of that being a real listing is extremely, extremely high. Unlike other platforms where anybody can get an account and post whatever and it's not verified, Sunbelt's a real site, real company with real listings. Same could apply to Transworld, for example, or another business broker organization, most likely. But with Tupelo is a CRM platform that we host all our listings on. So all brokers are paying to be on this platform to advertise their businesses, to organize their workflow. You can bet that's probably going to be a real listing on there. And also, Tupelo's search criteria, like Sunbelt's, is easy to navigate. You can hop on, you can scroll through, you can find what you're looking for keywords. It's cut and dry, simple on the advertisement. There's not a lot of fluff and ads blowing you up. I think that's a benefit for buyers looking for great opportunities. Don't you think so, Chris?
Yeah. You mentioned the other, like the Biz Buy Sell. These online listing sites, they're a great starting point, right? And that's what I like to say is that start there. They help buyers see price ranges, industries, and typical cash flow. But the key is to treat them like a directory, not a deal desk. Many listings, we've seen it, they live long after they've sold. They're still on there a year after that business is sold or it's expired. And some aren't even legitimate businesses. I know we're going to talk a lot about that on this podcast today. You know, the smart buyers, they're going to use these sites for education and benchmarking. And then the best way to do it is connect directly with a reputable broker. So make sure you look at that listing. Who's the broker? Look at their other listings. Do all of them look like they're similar? And are they spread out throughout the country? Find the brokers.
Oh, I'm ready for that, Chris. I got receipts.
I know you do. It's a pet peeve of yours. I know it is. But you find the brokers that are representing these listings. You reach out to them directly. That's where the real opportunities are found in this searching.
And you made a great point about benchmarking. For example, places like Biz Buy Sell are very big, large mass platforms that aren't associated to one group. The beauty of those platforms are you can search for all the different businesses that fit that same criteria. Like say you're looking for plumbing, because I got a couple of receipts on plumbing companies we're going to talk about later. You can find a bunch of plumbing companies and get a really big scope for why are some being priced this way? Why are some being priced differently? And what's the difference in these criteria? You can get a large sample size as a young and maybe unsophisticated or unknowledgeable buyer because you haven't done this yet. Just green, that's okay. But you can see why certain listings are getting posted a certain way. You can see what criteria tend to drive value. And that's what's important, is familiarizing yourself not only with where to find the listings, but how they're being valued and why they're being focused in these platforms and what the opportunity there is to go, one, acquire them and to find out more about them. And you made a great point, talking to people like us. Let's not be shy about it. We do this for a living. We're going to show you a little bit more in receipts later on, what to watch out for and what to look for. So again, this is educational purposes. It's not a blanket statement on all listings in any particular platform. Not all brokers respond properly too. Let's state that out here clearly. But if you want to get some great advice, keep listening because we're going to start showing some receipts. And for those of you listening, I highly recommend you check this episode out on YouTube coming when we post it shortly to see some of the screenshots. I'll do my best to describe what's on the screen for you listening, but I want you to go look if you can because I think it's going to be excellent for you to see the product as well. And then when you see it, you'll start to notice it just like myself and Chris. So let's dive into how you spot the bad listings, the fake or maybe the misleading ones, because it's a fine line to walk those words. But I've got a couple examples that, I've been talking to you about for over a few years now, right? I just grinds my gears when I see this junk out there because I think it's bad for us and it's bad for the consumer and it's not fair to buyers who've never gone through the process to be put in these positions because they're not going to know. So let's talk about the first red flags to notice that. You made a great point a minute ago. The broker page, the broker profile. If that broker profile just looks funky, it's missing a picture of the broker, you click on the name on Biz Buy Sell and you can't identify that person, that's weird. That's not right. Any broker who's a professional who is looking to do this has no problem putting their name in their bio, where they're located, and they're licensed to proper licensure. Correct, Chris?
Yeah, you want to see all that information. You want that transparency that we always talk about. This is a place where you need to see, it needs to make sense. Who is this guy or woman? Excuse me. Don't mean to be sexist. What are they representing? Who do they work for? What's their brokerage company? Do they have a bio about them? How long have they been in the business? If if you find a guy, no picture, like you said, just a name and a phone number, Google that phone number. If that doesn't bring up the broker in a firm, you've probably off to that's a big red flag, and you're probably onto a little scammy site here where he's got a lot of listings. They usually have 20 to 30, maybe even 50 listings, and they're a wide variety of industries. Why? Because they're all startup franchises at best, or they're selling some kind of concept, or they just want to put out listings and they want to bring you into their funnel. Now they've got your email address. They know you're looking for a business, and it's the old bait and switch, right? So big red flags are that broker's profile and their phone number for sure.
You're exactly correct. And let's talk about, the listing and fake listings. First off, if a listing's very ultra vague, there's two ways to look at it, which make you say, why would that be fake? Maybe it looks fake, but it's not. One, it could be a highly specialized niche business that basically you can't advertise very much about it because it would give it away. That we do sometimes as brokers get listings that are super highly specialized that limit how well we can advertise them as far as giving more details for fear of breaking confidentiality. If you're new to the podcast, looking to buy businesses, let's start here real quick. Quick filler. All businesses are typically sold confidentially with a blind profile. It doesn't tell you the exact name, location of the business. So we have to advertise confidentially. That limits how much we can give without giving away the business without an NDA being signed. So because of that, bad apples take opportunities and advantage of that to advertise something as either is real by putting a bunch of information but not giving exact specifics, which we'll get to in a minute, or like I just mentioned, they're very vague. Now, sometimes it is a niche business, but very often the listing is so vague, it's missing so many components, it's probably not real, right? It's probably not. And let's talk about this too. The price to cash flow ratio. If you look at BizBuySell, which I'm going to pull up in a moment, a picture here, Chris, so excuse me if I'm talking while not looking at the screen. I want to show people a ratio here that makes sense, okay? Typically, businesses are sold at a multiple to cash flows we've discussed. That could be businesses that, quite frankly, let's take a home service business like plumbing that I have, for example, that's popping up right now. You can see this too, Chris. So right here for all you listening. The cash flow, the SDE, is $237,400. $237,400. So $237K. They're only asking $309,000. Now, Chris, let me ask you a professional opinion here, because I know what the answer is going to be, but I got to ask it for semantics, for just to drive home my point. A trade business like this, service business, at least is a 2 to 3 multiple, correct? On average. Unless there's a massive fatal flaw, right?
At least 2.5, 3 minimum.
Correct. So the fact this broker, David Wilson, is advertising a business for sale doing $237,000 cash flow for $309,000. That's like 1.2, 1.4 times SDE. That is an absolute steal. That should have been sold yesterday, right, Chris? That never should even go on the market if it's that cheap. I know people who would pull cash out the bank immediately and buy it at that rate. One goes, why is it the case, right, Chris? It says established in 2007. It's almost 20 years old, doing $1.6 million gross. This just screams incredible. I got to inquire, right? But do you know where I'm going next, Christopher?
I have
do
a
you know
feeling.
What's coming next?
Yeah.
So this popped up 2 Fridays back. I saw it as a new blast for BizBuySell. Great new listing. So you know what Brandon said? I'm going to inquire because I don't think this is real. And wouldn't you know it, guess what? Do you want to guess if it was real, Christopher?
Did you get an email telling you it's either off the market or he pitched you something else?
Oh, no. They called me and used the wrong name. They couldn't even read the name correctly on the lead. But what they did is he said, oh, this is an opportunity. I'm like, oh, well, tell me a little bit more about it. He goes, well, it's not exactly available right now. I said, what do you mean it's not available? Oh, no, that business isn't there, but I have a great franchise opportunity with a great national franchise who are looking to get into New Orleans. So I said, you advertise this business as an existing location in the active business for sale tab on BizBuySell. Not in the startup franchise section, right, Chris? They have a whole separate section for startups.
That's right.
The actual active business section, and you're calling to tell me this is not actually a real opportunity, but I can buy a startup. You're advertising this business is making $237,000 right now today. Been open since 2007 and is physically not there. That is bait and switch and fraud at the highest level. And mind you, the broker's name was David Wilson, if you saw the screenshot before. You know who called me? Some random guy from North Carolina.
Nice.
Not even David Wilson, because you know what? David Wilson wasn't real. You talked about broker profiles. David Wilson, when I looked him up, wasn't a real person. He had a Florida real estate license that says he's based in Orlando. Do you want to guess if that license was even real?
I would guess not. You've got access to Florida licenses, so I know you can see it.
I have a broker license in Florida. I looked him up. That license isn't even real. So you've got a company posting a fake person with a fake profile picture, with a fake license, with a fake listing. I got a problem with that, and that's why we're doing this education today.
Yeah,
so let's talk about
that hurts us all, doesn't it? Because now somebody's inquired about it. Now, when you wasted time, let's say you waste 20, 30 minutes of your life pursuing that,
and waiting for this phone call to come.
Well, and now you think that buyer, that interested buyer, is going to trust BizBuySell, the website, or all our listings that are on there that we pay a lot of money for? We pay thousands of dollars every year to have our listings posted. But if they're just allowing these kind of listings. I will tell you, the best buyers, they develop a quick filter for nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a listing has no broker name, it doesn't have the location or a description that sounds like it could
this doesn't smell right.
Yeah, just it's time to move on. You don't need to even inquire about it. I know you did it to kind of prove a point, but I know you wouldn't have if you were a serious buyer. You know, serious listings are going to have those details. They're going to have the key expenses. They're going to make sense as far as what they're asking versus the cash flow. There's going to be a minimum. And so when you're
we'll get into that more too.
Yeah, always ask questions early. Reach out to that broker if you want before you inquire and wait for their call and really set expectations. If you want to inquire about it, send them an email, quick email, and find out more information. What can you send me? And when you get something quick back like Brandon did of, hey, that's not real, here's our franchise opportunities, you know, you can write that off forever.
That's right. You mentioned earlier about the broker profile too. I want to get into that a little bit. So on the screen right here, you see I added, this was a different broker, but advertising the same gig. If you're looking at the screen, I'll describe it for you listening. He's got all these listings for sale, just like David Wilson did, all across the country. Although he said he was specialized in Florida businesses, he had stuff in every major market across the country, all almost identical ads. So for those of you listening, go take a look real quick at the YouTube page, but I'm going to describe it real quick for you listening. This person had his essential home service, 5 streams of revenue, asking $235,000, Cherry Hill, Virginia. It says veteran-owned, eco-friendly installation company included with the business, all licensing, one fully wrapped and equipped vehicle. Do you want to guess what's right below it, Christopher?
I see it right there. It looks like the
I
exact
see an
same
identical ad, identical language in Lexington, Kentucky for identical price. That does not happen. That is a startup franchise scam right there.
Yeah.
That is straight up. You go below it, following the same exact model. Farming Hills Essential Home Service Installation in Farming Hills, Michigan. One, you don't mention exactly where it is. That's breaking the confidentiality issue we talked about already. But same price, same write-up, just absolutely terrible. So even if you find on a listing and you're not sure, go to that broker's profile, like Chris said. Go look at their other listings. If they claim to be one thing and you see a bunch of other stuff, that doesn't make sense. Let me also reframe this to people listening. The average broker, excluding vertical specialists who specialize in one industry only, the average broker is a regional-based broker. Typically, the majority of their listings are going to be near or close to their physical point of residence. Like our group, we work kind of mostly East Texas listings all the way to the Florida Panhandle. We don't go very far outside our bubble, right, Chris? Especially now, are there vertical guys who only do one industry and may have stuff across the country? Yes. But someone who has 5 of the same listings in 20 different major markets, priced the same, that's not good. That doesn't make sense. So be wary. Doesn't mean it can't be real. Let me disclose that, but you need to be tread lightly. And that's the hard part with these bigger platforms is no one's validating this. Whereas places like Tupelo or Sunbelt, where these are actual brokers, where you can go find our place of business, right? You can look us up. We got an office. We're real. We have another site validating us. These people don't give a company website, don't give a physical location. Do your homework. It's a classic bait and switch trying to sell you a franchise. And if you're looking to buy an existing business, it needs to be the case. Oh, and mind you, I want to throw that guy under the bus who called me. I'm not going to say his name because that's not nice. But let's say one thing he did tell me. Because I asked him, I said, hey, so this ad's not real. He goes, well, no, it says it's a franchise. I said, oh, so you've seen the ad? Because I have a copy of the ad, and it did not say franchise in it, did it, Chris?
That I saw.
I said, so you know about it, and you're scamming people. I'm going to turn you into BizBuySell, and I'm going to get you taken down because you're misleading the public, and I don't appreciate that. And advertising in my market, on top of that, and it also skews the metrics. Let me give this statement too, Chris, because I don't want to forget about it. When BizBuySell and other platforms allow this, it skews the metric of what's actually physically available in the market to purchase, and it skews the metrics of how much the multiple should be. It grossly deflates real businesses. So it sets expectations for you as a buyer that, why should I overpay for that business when this one's only for sale for 1.3 times cash flow? It's not real. It's selling you a pipe dream. No pun intended for plumbing. I know. So, we talked about what bad listings are, but before we leave, I want to show you one more example. Actually, let's talk about good listings, and I'll show you a bad example why it doesn't look correct. Let's talk about good listings real quick to pivot a little bit. What's clear? They've got all the different financial metrics cleared out, right, Chris? SDE, gross, year open, how many employees, a very detailed description that makes sense. Typically, the radius of where it's located is identified properly. And as we said too, the broker profile. It's clear. It's obvious. It looks good. So let me show you what the opposite of that would look like, because I think that's what's important here. I got a good one right here I'm going to show you, Chris. You want to guess what the SDE multiple is?
Well, at least 3 times, I would hope.
Oh, no. We're going to talk about the bad one right here. Let me show you.
You got another bad one. I thought you were
a bunch of bad. I told you I got receipts today.
Yeah.
New Orleans exceptional fire and water contents restoration, Chris. Asking price $290,000. Gross is $1.265 million, and the is $270,000. You can buy a business making $270,000 for 1 times cash flow. Sign me up. Take my money, sir, please.
I'm surprised you haven't scooped that one up yet. Yeah, you should have owned that one by now.
David Lane Brokerage. I've actually reported him before. He's calling you out, David. I've called you out before for fake franchises. And notice none of this says it's an actual franchise, right, Chris? Looking at the write-up. I won't read the whole 2 paragraphs for you listening, but no franchise description, right, Chris? None. Boom. That, sir, is fake. Let me tell you also how you're looking for good listings. When you look at a site with good listings, you're going to see a bunch of different opportunities like Biz Buy Sell. If you're looking like maybe by state or by region, you'll be scrolling. You'll see a whole bunch of different kinds of businesses, right? You might see plumbing. You might see construction. You might see restaurants. You might see bars. Here's how to spot a problem, too. Here's another good one. Because the good listings all kind of look different. There's reasons why they look different, and the prices range from maybe overpriced to kind of priced right to in between. We're not going to judge another brokerage pricing practices here, but I am going to show you what to watch out for, too. And I'm sorry if I sound negative out there, but I have been on a crusade for years, as you can ask Christopher. Right here. This is just scrolling through BizBuy locations in Louisiana, right, Chris? What do you see? I see a decently priced business, the Pedal Pub franchise. It says in Baton Rouge, $67,000 asking price, $25,000 cash flow. 2.5, 3 times, a little much for that business, but I think that's a fair starting point, right? Probably has a bunch of assets like the cart and other items, right? What do you see below it, Chris?
See a highly overpriced business, Brandon.
But what else do you see?
It's almost the same one, same picture, but it's
same generic stock ad, same exact description of the write-up, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, but 2 different titles, same cash flow, $189,000 for each listing, and $1.3 million asking price. But identical stock photos, identical write-up, but different titles. That's how they trick you out there. You see anything that ever looks identical to something else, stop. That's fake. If it's not fake, something's off about it, I can promise you. I mean, look at that, Chris. For those of you listening, please go look at the podcast on YouTube and look at that, because that's going to be an instant indicator there's a problem.
I will say on that one, they might have, it said 9 locations. So on that one, they may be asking, one location might be in New Orleans, there might be other locations in Baton Rouge. So I'll give them that. But the fact is they're asking X, which I don't know.
On something like with identical write-ups. And here's the thing, if you've got multiple locations, just advertise it as one package. Why are you making 9 separate ads asking the same price for each location? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying
It's also inflating your viewership, and it's clogging up the system. That's not good.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said. The metrics are going to be all wrong. It looks like you got 9 different ads if they put up that many.
And that's where I draw my line on frustrating. And here's another good example. People say it's great for listings to have a picture on them, right? We talk about that all the time, debate, should we have a photo, should we not? There are laws out there for those listening for real estate-based deals where you can't put a stock image of a piece of real estate. That's considered against the law, period. I'm a licensed broker in 3 states. Let me state that very clear. So I understand brokers putting maybe a picture of the business, but the real estate's included. Okay, a stock image. Let me tell you how to spot a bad image as well here. Here you go, Chris. Here is another one. Now, first off, I'm not going to harp on how dumb the asking price to cash flow ratio is. Just look at the picture to start. Profitable siding business with low overhead in New Orleans. Do you see what's on the back of this guy's T-shirt?
Yeah.
What does that say? citing.
Ideal citing.
One, you would never put a stock image with another company's name on it. And two, you would not be advertising the company in a blind profile, yet putting the name of the workers in the picture. So your head should be scratching a little bit. Secondly, I talked about the cash flow to asking price ratio. Anything at 1 times is insane. This is negative. Folks, if you're not watching, he is asking $120,000. Do you want to know what the cash flow is? Dollars. You can buy a business for half the cash flow? What? Not real. Not real. I can promise you, all you listening, if that's real and it came to my office and the owner was giving it away, I would never advertise it. I would buy it today. Would you buy it, Chris?
Yeah.
Why would you let that get out the door? It's insane.
Well, he's generating leads. That's what he's doing. He's getting people to contact him, and then he's...
Speaking of your broker profile, Chris, what does the bottom right corner say? Listed by who?
Yeah, I can't see his name, but it doesn't look like he has a
profile. It says John Pipe. There's nothing else.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he has
Can't
a
even
profile.
click on it. You can't even click on it. Makes you wonder, huh?
Right.
So I'm going to take a break from getting mad and going off on our tyrants here because I don't want to be mean. But let's talk more about what makes good listings good. Obviously, ways to scan them. And this is harping on a lot of stuff on Biz Buy Sell. So I'm not here to attack Biz Buy Sell per se. I just want to show you the largest platform being used because most of you are probably using it. You can go look at our site, sunbeltnetwork.com. Every single listing has a broker with a bio and a picture of that broker and who they are. That listing has got plenty of detail. We've got details on financing, size of the place where it occupies, whether real estate's included or not, value of that included or not. You will see the difference going to different sites. And I encourage you to go look around and shop and learn because when you do your homework, you're going to be a more educated buyer. And we talked about what makes a listing good, what makes it bad, Chris. I want to bring up right now, and I want your opinion on this because I've talked a lot. I don't want to be hogging the mic here. I hate services that people pay for to scrape listings off Biz Buy Sell. Am I right? I want you to give a little pitch, and I'll give mine. But how bad is that for you as a buyer if you're paying someone to scrape these sites?
You're talking about those gurus who are pitching it to buyers? They're scraping the websites?
Yeah. Well, you know the leads I'm talking about that email us saying they have a great buyer. And people scraping stuff that isn't real. And getting the wrong contact information to start.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another red flag, right? Is if you're just going around and scraping websites and pitching it as your own, or that you're representing it, or even that you're just, trying to find a buyer for it. That's
facilitate.
You're trying to facilitate a deal. You haven't vetted that business. You're basically just taking it off a website and saying, "Hey, we can help you buy this." I wouldn't trust those gurus if I were looking to buy a business. That's for sure.
No, I remember there was one we talked about a year ago. It was a landscape business, and it says in New Orleans. It was doing $3 million gross, $1.5 million EBITDA. That's not possible in that business. We sold a lawn care and landscaper for $2.5 million, me and you together. The margins are not there in that business for that to happen, right? That's just metrically almost impossible. It doesn't make sense.
Generally, they're 15 to 18%, maybe as high as.
And if you get in the 20s, you're doing great.
22, 24% net profit, and that was killing it. And that was streamlined, efficient, as
minimal competition.
Yep. So, yeah.
So I saw this guru was sharing this listing, scraping it off Biz Buy Sell, and having AI give a written context. Service businesses are great. As trends change, you should look into this business. It's got a great profit margin. And I'm thinking, anybody who's ever sold a business saw that would never say those words. And this guru, who people are paying for to get leads sent to them to qualify and send. This is why I'm warning you. You need to learn to do your own homework and how to spot the junk. And maybe there's a bunch of people who got that email from her and said, probably fake, not going to waste my time. But do you know how many of those emails that Chris and I get sent from people saying, we'd love to connect you with this buyer for this listing? I'm like, that's one, not real, and two, not feasible. And so now I got this buyer coming to me saying, hey, this is great. And I'm like, that's fake. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You've been misled and you paid someone. We had a guy call our office not even 3 weeks ago, about to pay somebody $15,000 to scrape Biz Buy Sell for him. You can go on these sites, everybody, set your parameters of what you want to view, and Biz Buy Sell, our site, Sunbelt, Tupelo, will send you an email for free of anything that comes available the minute it's posted. Think about that. You don't need to pay someone to do this. But let's talk about how to navigate these platforms. I mentioned you can set your current parameters. Chris, what do you think is the most commonly searched way to find a business on these platforms? What is the filters you think people use the most?
They're using asking price. Well, let me tell you mine, because I look pretty often. Just browsing around, I always search for price. What's selling
Price is
between
important.
1 million to 3 million. I don't need to be
What's your
looking at
risk
10 to
tolerance?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
risk tolerance.
exactly,
So
right?
define your risk tolerance. Find your asking price range.
Industries, and these sites
Yes.
don't do the greatest of jobs, the major platforms. If you've got a particular industry, I think they give you what, 20, 25 industries. They don't have every industry. So if you're searching for something niche, you generally have to hit somewhere, circle around that industry. But
And find the
every
other
platform,
category.
yeah, every platform has its strength, whether it's BizBuySell, BizQuest, they're great for broad
Sunbelt.
searches. Yeah, but you'll find the highest quality deals on broker-driven sites, like you said, sunbeltnetwork.com. That's where every listing is verified and updated, and the pros don't just browse, they filter strategically. So you talk about filters and how you can set those alerts, just like you said, you can put those target industries, and then you can start looking for patterns over time.
And
If you're
metrics.
just going to spend one day just searching and you think that's going to be it, that's not how it works. You're going to have
No.
to invest some
Commit.
time, and you have to create a plan for how to even search, right? So if you're serious about buying, consistency will beat luck. You've got to be consistently searching, reaching out, starting this process, because the best opportunities are going to go to the buyers who are most active, who are most informed, and responsive. Here's the key. When you're most responsive, when you get the right deal, when that right deal appears, yes, you've got that alert day one. Maybe it's not, you don't want to seem too eager, right? That's kind of deal making 101. But you want to start the process pretty early and make sure that you're involved in the mix when the right deal does come along.
You're right. And let's talk about, you said filters. I recommend to somebody, if you really want to do a deal, know your risk tolerance, like you said, your asking price range, maybe $1 million to $3 million, whatever it may be. But understand your cash flow and your EBITDA ranges to what you want. Because say you have a W-2 doing $200,000 a year, you're not going to quit your job to make 100, right? You're just not. So you need a business probably making 400 to 500 after debt service. If you can't pay cash for it up front, which those companies are probably going to be $1 to $3 million for you, for example, you need that debt service to meet that range. So you need to set your EBITDA and cash flow criteria to help offset that transition for the debt service, but also find something that fits what you're willing to take the risk for. And that's important to understand that and do your homework on yourself, but also set those parameters in the filters so that you get great access. And if you see a broker with a bunch of good listings, you should call and talk to them real quick and say, hey, I'm looking for this. Can you put me on your email list? Can you put me on your blast, whatever it may be, your platforms to follow, and keep it, especially if you're regional. I mean, if a great young man, a fan of the podcast, actually reached out and said, hey, I want to talk about buying something in this price range, in this cash flow range. And we went and got lunch, and super great guy, got a chance to talk and explain to him how the process works, what to do, how to look for it, and how we can keep our eyes open for him. And that's how you do it right. That's how you're going to get the best opportunities and the best chance to actually view something real and not waste your time kicking tires, going through and surfing through the garbage that's also out there as well. And I can hear the buyers right now. Well, there's inquiries in business I inquire on that aren't available. Well, there's a couple of reasons why. One, could be under contract, right, Chris? It's got its exclusivities. We can't share even with an NDA. Sometimes we do have owners that go dark on us, and it's annoying. But there are, for those of you listening, there are owners that sign up, want to sell, and then for 2 months won't call us back, which is mind-boggling. But it's real. So we tell you it's on hold because we literally can't get the owner to return a phone call. And we have a contract that we have to market it, and if they don't respond to us, we're stuck in limbo till that contract runs out. That does happen to a small number of cases. So please don't take that personal. Our hands are tied as well. We wish we could do better with it, but we're stuck in the situation that we're in. That all being said, know your criteria, focus on it, and sign up for different sites. Now, one little note here, pro tip, BizBuySell, BizQuest, LoopNet are all under the same CoStar platform, as I said earlier. So if you sign up for BizBuySell, you're going to get the same leads as LoopNet or BizQuest because they're all filtered to the same platform hosting system. So you don't need to go sign up for all these other individual sites associated with that. But I would recommend, like Chris said, finding your local broker, getting on their email list, because you're going to get a different quality of lead that way, a better quality business to look at most likely than like I got the email saying, come buy this plumbing company when I know obviously it's fake. I know, but to the average person who's never done this before, that could be frustrating. So we kind of talked about the different platforms. We talked about their pros and cons. We kind of hinted on it, but let's talk about building relationships over clicks. We kind of gave a little bit of that pitch, but I want you, Chris, to talk about why you prefer someone reach out to us than just submitting to an email list to hope to find something. What about engaging with us and other brokers and other professionals is more important than just searching?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions among buyers is that the best listings are hiding somewhere online, and they're absolutely
They're
not.
not.
The best listings are shared quietly with serious, pre-qualified buyers who have built relationships with trusted brokers, right?
That's right.
If you're responsive, transparent, and respectful of the process, trust me, brokers will remember you because there's so
They
many people that
absolutely
don't.
will.
And they will call you first when a deal fits your criteria. If you've sat down with them, if you've had lunch, if you've come to their office and had that conversation, building credibility with a broker as a buyer, it takes effort. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't. That takes time out of your day to go do that, and you're starting the process. But it is absolutely the fastest way to see real deals before they ever hit the internet. Because that broker
Hmm.
will remember you when a listing comes into their office and say, "Oh man, I've got the perfect buyer for this." Yeah, we're still going to put it out there because we've got to do that for our clients. But you're going to be
And we
call
want to
number
see what the
one if
market
we've.
says too.
Yeah,
We do.
yeah, exactly. Yep.
The talking point of gurus that all these hidden listings that brokers never share is absolute nonsense. Let me tell you right now. Are there buyers that get calls first? Because, like as Chris just mentioned, you have taken the time out of your day as a buyer to identify a relationship, develop it, show your capacity to perform and willingness to execute. Yeah, that person's going to get a call first. Let's be honest. Anybody who's ever done things in business, we all know the friends that, I would love to do something. Just give me a call whenever. You call them, I got. There's always 1,000 excuses. That works in every industry, in every position. I mentioned the good buyer who listens to the show, who asked me to come eat down with him. I guarantee that person is on my Rolodex right now of 5 people for these ranges he wants. If something comes in, we're going to give him a call right away. I can promise you. Because he's shown the ability. He's getting pre-qualified with the SBA. He's taken the right steps. Another gentleman I met through a referral about 2 months ago had used one of the paid guru services. All 3 leads he got were fake or weren't available. How frustrating would you be? And he's even said, I came to your office 4 years ago. I wasn't ready. I didn't realize that. I understood why y'all couldn't really help me. I've since got my finances in order. I need some, if you'd like, I'd love to hear what I can do to get prepared so when you get a listing I like, I can make a move. He's a CEO of a small company here in town. He's literally texted me last Friday. He's getting SBA pre-qualified with 2 of our lenders that we recommended to him to get the process started. That man will be on the list. He will be because he's doing everything right, and he's showing that he's taking the steps and investing time to do a deal. Buyers out there, I know it's tough thinking I have to take time from work to go sit down with somebody. If you're going to make a multi-million-dollar purchase, a life-changing purpose in decision to buy a business and take on that risk and that personal guarantee, as we talked about with SBA loans, even conventional, and you won't take an hour of your day to sit down with somebody who you want to advise you, you are not ready. Am I wrong, Chris?
No, you just like searching the internet and feeling like you're part
Plain
of the
house.
process. But yeah, the real buyers that I've seen, they will at least have that phone call. A lot of them are out of
Yeah.
the area that I work with, so I
And
understand
that's
not being
okay.
able to.
I'm not beating
Yeah,
up on
but
people out the area, but if you're in the area and you're looking for them in your area and you want to talk to a broker in your area, you need to make the effort. Because trust me, we see it farther than you do down the road what your capacity is going to be. And if I got to come to you for every meeting, you're not real. You're not serious. You want to be catered to. Being catered to is not the best buyer. Now, if you bought 4 businesses from me and from our company, and we know you're a serious strategic buyer and we get the right fit and we know you can capitalize, of course you're going to get that phone call. Let's not be silly, right, Chris? The business is still going to go to market, but having the proper relationships is so important. And as a buyer, in order to get past the fluff that I've shown you today and that Chris and I have spoke about, developing key relationships allows you to execute quicker too. And that is important. And I want you to understand we're not beating up people for not wanting to do that. We're not beating up people wanting to search and be curious. And maybe you want to move across the country and you can't sit down in someone's office in California from Florida. I get that. I'm not beating you up. But there are things you can do strategically to be prepared for that, to show your authenticity of wanting to do something. That is what's important. And don't be lazy. Last time I say that, don't be lazy. If you're lazy and I get a lead from you and you're from another paid service that you can't even bother to take your time to look at biz buy sell, you're not ready to buy business. You're not ready to spend multi 6 to 7 figures. You're just not. Let's be honest. You're not. So Chris, what have I missed on listings? I feel like I hit a lot of different topics, but what is there anything else that you think I didn't hit or we didn't hit that you would like to add or at least highlight again for everybody listening out there to be prepared for, to do, not to do? The floor is yours, sir.
no, I think we've set expectations here. The online marketplace, it's noisy, right? But the good listings are out there for those who know how to spot them. We're trying to teach you how to look through that noise or listen through that noise. You look for professionalism. I think we talked about that. Look for
So true.
responsiveness from the broker. Yeah, you got a good response from that broker and he quickly alerted you that it was fraud. Look for that transparency. Make sure that these things are what they say they are. The minute you see that something's not, you know you've stumbled upon that kind of scammy
Mm-hmm.
fraud stuff. If they're trying to pitch you something else and all you wanted to see was information on that listing, that's an immediate red flag. Don't be afraid to ask direct questions. You know, that's what brokers
Yes.
are really here for. The best deals, like you said, that they're earned through diligence. They're earned through relationships. It's not going to be that you just found one and stumbled on it by luck. You found that listing that's 1 times cash flow or 1.5 times cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
When you approach the buying process as a student rather than just kind of shopping around and seeing what you can find,
Mm-hmm.
you will start seeing opportunities that others completely miss. So
You're
be a
exactly
student
correct.
of make it a process. Create a process. I'm a process oriented guy. If I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing something, you can bet it's been listed out and documented how I'm going to do it if I'm going to be serious about it. And you've got to approach finding a business in the marketplace almost the same way. You got to say, how much time am I going to dedicate to this? What am I looking for? What am I not looking for? What is considered noise? Make that a process, and then you'll start seeing opportunities really come in. Then you can start, making offers and really doing due diligence because you've got a
Mm-hmm.
couple things that you've looked at. Not every deal that you go forward with is going to work out. There's going to be red
That's
flags. There's
okay.
going to be warts that you can't. Every business has warts, right? We've said that time and time again. There's going to
Yes.
be some warts that you can't tolerate. That just won't work for me. That's
And
too
that's okay.
high my risk tolerance. But once you identify enough opportunities and start the process, but you can't start unless they're real opportunities. And so hopefully we've given some people some good advice of how to streamline that process and knock out a lot of that noise and fraud and scam stuff that we see all the time.
You're right. Look for transparency in brokers and listings. If you take a few minutes to do the homework we gave you today, you will be able to tell very quickly which firms are legit, which are not, and which people you're going to want to at least have a conversation and speak with. It's so important to do your homework. Not all listings are created equal, and you may see some listings that, hey, why is the price so much more than the cash flow? This just makes no sense. Well, sometimes as a broker, it's not our choice. The client wants a certain price, and we advise them, hey, that's not a good idea to do that. But if you insist, we'll do it. Just know that we need to get back to realistic terms pretty quick. You want to test the market, as the old saying goes, right? Don't assume every broker has the price the way they do for an exact reason either. There's always a backstory. There's always a reason. But by filling out the NDA, by developing relationships, you will understand why some of those opportunities are the way they are and why you need to do your homework. And I'll finish on this statement. If you're serious about buying a business, the best deals aren't just found. They're earned through diligence, relationships, and understanding what makes a listing a real listing. And I think Chris and I today have given you a bunch of content on how to spot the bad. And the reason we didn't highlight as many good listings on the screen, because if you know what the bad ones look like, you'll know what the good ones are. You don't need to learn what a good one is, how to identify the bad ones. Because when you identify the bad ones, you'll save your time and energy going through that junk, and you'll be able to see the good ones immediately. But if any of you out there have questions, we're an open book. We had a listener reach out just a few moments before the show about an technical issue on one of the episodes and some other content. We're happy to speak with you and give you our opinion. We are here. We want to be a resource, as I think we've said every single episode. We're here to educate and help people because we see it coming often before other people do because we're in the industry. We see the flaws, and we're trying to address those flaws. No industry is perfect. And then when you're dealing with confidential advertising, your hands are also limited. But as people who have invested their careers and livelihoods into making a living off of this industry, and as my family has for 25 years, a quarter century, I want you out there to be happy with what you're finding and be able to find what you want to do an acquisition on and execute on it. And that's why we have the Steps to Sold podcast. Is that right, Chris?
That is it, man. That's why we created this, to give good information that people can really use searching for listings, buying businesses, selling businesses, all of that stuff. We want to have that good information out there so you're getting it from a good source that's living it and breathing it. And like you said, done it for a very long time.
You're correct. As Lou Holtz once said at a speaking engagement my dad went to, he said, motivational speaking engagement, and I'll end on this. The sad thing is, the people who really need this speech are the ones not here today listening. The ones who took the time to do this are going to get where you want to go because you're making the efforts and change to be there. And I think that is the same message today to those of you listening and those of you doing these processes. Even if you don't listen to the show, you're going to get where you want to go and find the right opportunities. And if you do things the right way, you will get the right results. It doesn't mean it's going to be a straight linear path. Look, finding a business to buy is hard. Let me make that clear. There's a lot of factors out there, and you have to do your own soul searching, diligence, risk tolerance equation, evaluation, all that good stuff. But wouldn't you rather talk to somebody who's done this and done over 850 deals and get their opinion. That's why we're here, and that's why we're advertising and sharing this podcast with you so you can take these notes and be productive. And on that note, Chris, I think we've covered everything today. If you want or have questions, feel free to reach out. Let us know if you have specific topics you want us to address. We are happy to address those topics as well. And we appreciate each and one of you out there listening and showing support for the show. We're not doing this for fame and fortune, Chris. We got no promotions and no dialogue to take an advertisement block in. So we appreciate all that you do to be here. And until next time, we will see you on the Steps to Soul podcast. Y'all have a good day.